Hi, I'm Gary Streigler. One of the things I really enjoy about what I get to do kind of as a hobby and for a living, woodworking, is that there's always something new to learn. And I've been doing this for about 50 years now. There's actually some things I do different now than I did even 10 years ago. So what I want to share this morning is just a few little kind of best practices, tips for gluing up boards that I actually didn't used to do just a few years ago. So I'm going to do an example just gluing up these pieces of wood. There's some pipe clamps here. Whoops. So the first tip, and you're probably going to laugh at me for this because it's so simple. Well, that's not a good start. First tip is don't tear up your glue bottle. All right, let's see if I got. Okay, here we go. So the first thing, this might seem super simple, but sometimes I do gigantic glue ups. And I do not know why, but sometimes I start putting the glue here and then I'm reaching across the glue to get that backboard and I end up getting glue on myself. Now, I'm using original Titebond. I always, when I can, want to use original Titebond because it'll wash out of your clothes. But there's times when I have to use the Titebond too, and it's still a pain to get out, to get out of your clothes because you got to get it out of your clothes before it goes through the dryer. Anyway, seems like a simple tip, but always start spreading the glue away from you. Another thing is, I don't need glue on this last board. I mean, I could, but I just have to turn it back to myself. Okay. Now I'm going to try and just line these up kind of on one end. And it again is always super important anytime you're gluing something up to have a flat surface to work on. I'm just going to push these down. And my goal is always, I want to have a little bit of glue squeezing out. That's kind of a two-edged sword though, because when that glue starts to ooze out, you got to do something with it. For years, I'd just take my hand and smear it off, and then I'd take the excess and I'd wipe it on my nail apron, which is okay, I guess. Gives you kind of a unique look. But recently, I started keeping just a thing of water and a damp rag, because there's not anything I build I'm not going to end up either sanding or planing. And so I'm just real quick, just going to take just enough water to wipe that off. And I want to get to the back side too a little bit. This just makes it a lot easier to clean up. Now the challenge here is I can't get where the clamps are. And I definitely want to put a clamp, when you're clamping something up, you always want to have clamps on both sides. So when I clamp this up, I'm getting a little more glue squeezed out in the middle. I'm going to wipe it down again. But one of the things that I finally learned, I don't know why it took me this long in life, is once I've wiped all that down, I can actually move this clamp over about 3/4 of an inch, reclamp it, and now I got that spot too. So I would do the same thing on the other side. Now I've got this all put together. Almost no squeeze out, so it's going to be really easy to work on this. Another thing, I'm wearing these gloves. I don't always wear gloves when I'm doing a glue up, but if I'm doing a whole bunch, I definitely do. One of the other things, so again, I just keep a damp rag handy, that I do. Sometimes I will be gluing up a whole bunch of strips like this, or maybe if I'm doing a curved casing, a whole bunch of 1.5 inch wide strips, but I got a whole bunch to do. In those cases, I like to use a glue roller like this, where I can fill the hopper and spread out across the whole thing. And again, my theory is always, I want to have enough glue on there so that I get some squeeze out. Now there's one other little thing I wanted to share. Of course, I'm standing here and I forgot to get it. I'm going to step aside just a second. One of the other things I learned, I want to give a huge shout out to Mark Adams, actually two things. First is, although I've tried to get all the glue off this, it's a great idea to have a good glue scraper that any place that you need to, that after you've done a glue up, you can scrape the excess glue off. Man, I don't even know how you pronounce this brand, but I became familiar with these at Mark Adams School. I'm gonna tell you, it's the best glue scraper I've ever used. It can be sharpened, it's got a long enough handle. And although I've never had to do, I guess this comes with a screw, I guess you can replace it. Anyway, if you're gonna do much woodworking, you may wanna think about getting one of these. Oh, and the last tip, again, this seems incredibly simple too. Again, I wanna give credit to Mark Adams School of Woodworking. Put a piece of paper down over your table or your workbench. This is just that paper that, you know, painters use to cover the floor. It's very inexpensive. I want to say a roll of it's maybe like 10, 12 bucks, and you cover a whole bunch of things. Because even though I've been pretty careful, I got several drops of glue on this paper. But that won't be a big deal, because when I'm through gluing up, I'll just take the paper and throw it away, and my workbench is still going to be clean. So just a few things that prove that no matter how old you get, you can still learn.